everyone, Steph here from thegoodride.com. We are here checking out some coalition boards. This is the Myth in a 147. This is their all-mountain board. So this is kind of like the dabbler board and the do-it-all board, so it's going to do pretty well in most all conditions. It comes with a isolated dual camber profile, which is a little bit of a flat section in between the feet going to camber sections under the feet, and then up to rocker on the nose and the tail. It also comes with a sintered base. It comes with a slightly wider waist width than your average women's board. So it feels a little bit more like a mid-wide board. So compared to the average women's snowboard in a 147, this has a little bit more waist width underfoot, which adds extra stability, better at higher speeds, and gives you an option if you have a slightly bigger boot. So let's look at the flex here. To me, it kind of feels like a 7 out of 10 flex. So I was able to ride this board in a few different conditions. Took it out for a couple laps around Tahoe. Also took it all over the mountain in Mammoth, but it was mostly spring conditions when I got them. So yeah, we'll start up on the steeps. It felt very stable in steep terrain. Was able to turn it. I feel like it is pretty quick to turn. For me and my boot size, I felt like it was fast, but like medium. It was in between those two levels as far as like the edge change and how quick I could turn it. But I will say that I feel like the one size smaller I think would fit my specs perfectly, just because I'm super light. And I do have a 7.5 foot boot. So if you're slightly heavier than I am or have a little bit of a bigger boot, then I think it will push it into that quick to turn category for you. Had a pretty decent edge hold on ice. I'd say a little bit less edge hold than the Queen Bee does, but the added camber under the feet does give you a little bit of extra edge hold when it's firm out there and a little bit of icy. There isn't any side cut disruption, so it would be good for like a hard to icy condition, but will have a little bit less edge hold than something that has a little bit more disruption in the side cut. But because of the stiffer flex, it felt very stable at higher speeds, felt good through some like chundery type snow. I was able to maneuver it through moguls and things like that. So it felt good in all mountain terrain. As far as powder goes, it's gonna do pretty good, but it's not gonna be that crazy floater. The rocker on the nose and the tail is gonna add a little bit of float, and the flat camber in between the feet will also help. So it'll ride a little different than a traditional camber board, but it won't have as much float as a more powder specific board. So when you look down the side cut of this board, it overall has kind of a rounded rocker type profile to it with the two added camber zones. The camber zones are pretty mellow, they're not super aggressive, so it does feel pretty good in softer snow. In slushy conditions, the nose and everything kind of stayed on top of the snow and it maneuvered well, which makes me think that it'll do pretty well on a powder day. Not on a super deep powder day, but enough to get by. And you can set it back a little bit. So I feel like if you had it on like a semi-powder day, like you get anything under a foot, it should maneuver just fine for that. If you get any deeper snow, or if it's a really heavy snow, you might want to have a backup powder board just in case. For carving, it was kind of a medium carver for me. So it was pretty good to carve, but not like a crazy carver. So again, the dabble board that does a little bit of everything. You can definitely make skidded turns on this board easily, especially on flat surfaces and stuff. It stays fairly loose. It's not super catchy at all. So bringing it into a freestyle realm, it rides switch pretty well. You can ride switch on this board and it feels the same as riding normal. It feels pretty catch free when you're turning, and I feel like this one likes smaller to medium radius turns, and it prefers a more skidded turn over a carved turn. Because of the stiffer flex, I feel like this would be better for an intermediate rider in the park terrain. So maybe not an intro to park board, but maybe you have learned a little bit of park and then want to push your skills a little bit, but might be good for someone who has a little bit of park under their belt already and wants to play in the park, but also wants a board that can handle all mountain. It does well on jumps. Because of the stiffer flex, it's very stable in landings, but it is also somewhat catch-free because of the hybrid rocker profile. So you can learn spins and stuff on it. Feels pretty good on jibs, but I would prefer, if you want a jib specific board, they're normally a little softer. So again, maybe better for that intermediate rider. So overall, I feel like the Myth would be good for that intermediate to advanced expert rider. If you are looking for something that is a little bit catch-free and you like that hybrid rocker feel underfoot, a little bit of a stiffer, more stable ride for all mountain riding, and looking for a board that can do a little bit of everything all over the mountain, maybe check out the Myth from Coalition. We're out here with Gina, and she just took the Coalition Myth out. What did you think?
So we were out on kind of like firmer day. It did snow a little yesterday, but it didn't feel like that. So it was like pretty icy, firm snow or slush in certain places. When I started taking it on higher speeds, and especially on the ice, I didn't feel any chatter at all, and it was held its edge really well, and I felt really comfortable the whole time, especially when we were going faster, and I mean even slower. It's quick to turn. Yeah, it had a little bit of pop to it, but it was a little harder to get the board up in the air, but then landing on something was pretty stable. It wasn't my favorite in the bumps, just because I do like a more flexier board when I'm going through bumps, and I do like to be a little more playful, and for me this board was just a little too stiff for that. But yeah, in the slush it was still pretty good. Had a lot of fun there. Switch, it felt really fun.
What was your when you first got on it, like what was your first impression of it?
Well, I'm used to riding stiffer boards, and for me it even felt a little stiff in the beginning, so just getting used to how stiff it was definitely took some time. It is a little heavier than boards I've ridden before, so I think that's what helps, just with the speed and feeling more comfortable when I was landing after a little bit of air.
So would you say it's like pretty stable?
Yes.
Because of that?
Yeah. The stiffness definitely helped the stability on the snowboard.
What would you describe your riding style as? And who do you think that this would fit for? You know, what kind of riding style do you think this would fit for?
Someone that likes to go fast. I think you just are gonna feel really secure on this board if you like to go fast. And I do like to go fast, but I also, and I think that's where this board comes into play, is yeah, for a fast groomer day, this is really fun. We didn't have that much opportunity with some good off-piste stuff, so I would have liked to try it in there, but the little bit of off-piste that we did try, it wasn't as enjoyable for me just because of, yeah, that like stiffness factor. So I do like a playful board that can also handle speed, and for me this was more of like a speed, like I want to get speed on this.
Do you think, what do you think ability level wise?
I would say more advanced, just because of how stiff it was, and you're just not able to feel that flex as much. You really have to work hard to feel that flex, and just for a beginner that's learning, you want it to be an easy twisty sort of maneuver. Dude, like it like had a really fun like buttery feel to the front nose that I was like really enjoying. Like I jump and then kind of do this like buttery movement, so that was pretty fun, and I didn't expect that out of this board, feeling that stiff.
Yeah, so it's a little playful.
Yeah.
For a stiffer board.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks.